Uganda is endowed with agroclimatic conditions suitable for the cultivation of a wide range of crops, including indigenous vegetables. Indigenous vegetables can be an important part of one's diet as an excellent source of essential vitamins and minerals, proteins, fiber, and antioxidants. These vegetables are an underexploited source of food and income, mainly due to less awareness by producers and consumers of their benefits and proper production methods. They can be grown for both home consumption in small gardens around homesteads and for commercial purposes. Jute mallow, kokora, locally known as otigo, is one of the most important traditional vegetables in Uganda, eaten most in the northern part.
Jute mallow is a vegetable. It is an indigenous vegetable, which means indigenous vegetables are of different origins.
To get high yield of jute mallow, you need to use high quality seed. Quality seed should be uniform in size, color, shape, free from foreign matter such as weed seed, and disease free. It should show high germination of not less than 75%.
Whether it has passed the test or not. So the minimum percentage for vegetables is 75, with the exception of onions and pumpkins, which is 70. But most of them are 75. So long as they surpass 75, then they are classified as good quality seeds.
You can confirm the quality of your seed by conducting a germination test. This is done by picking samples of seeds from at least 3 spots from the container, mix the samples and count 100 seeds and soak in water for 24 hours. You should then wrap the soaked seeds in a clean cotton cloth and tie, then hang in a shed. Remember to keep this moist continuously, then open the cloth after 2 weeks and count the number of seeds that have germinated. For quality seed, at least 75% should have germinated. If less seed germinated in 2 weeks, you will need to increase the seed rate or gap fill after planting.
In evaluation, you take consideration of the normal seedlings that have germinated with all essential structures. When you look onto this plant or this seedling, the shoot system is normal and the root system is normal. So you consider this seedling as normal seedling. So when you come to this one, you find that it's abnormal. It is deformed. So all those ones are counted on that one, then plus those ones which remain fresh and ungerminated. At the end of the day, total up those ones which are normal, and those ones which are abnormal, and those ones which are rotten, and those ones which have remained fresh and germinated. But your germination percentage will be according to the seeds that have germinated on the basis of the normal structures.
Quality seed, when planted on a fertile soil with adequate moisture, reduces incidences of pests and diseases attacks. The aim of land preparation is to place the soil in the best physical condition for the crop to grow. A well-prepared field provides a soft soil mass for planting and a suitable soil structure for root establishment. When establishing your jute mallow field, you need to select a suitable site with good fertile soil such as virgin land. You then clear the bush by cutting all the tall grasses and trees, including tree stumps. After bush clearing, carry out first plowing, followed by second plowing in about 2 weeks' time. The land should then undergo harrowing using simple implements like a rake to make a fine tilth.
You need to soften the soil. Once the soil is soft and you apply either chicken or cow manure, it makes the soil light. Farmers are working on the plots and make sure that we come out with a very, very fine tillage, because vegetables have very, very small seeds which we have to plant in a very, very fine tillage.
You will have to apply manure in your garden to improve the soil fertility. It is recommended to use organic fertilizers such as compost manure and farmyard manure and inorganic fertilizers.
We just put them in drills such that when our vegetables are growing, are getting that manure, all those nutrients, other than putting it in a space where the weeds will also come and enjoy them, and it is wastage.
Make straight lines of 30 centimeters apart using a rope and using a stick. Make a 1 centimeter deep furrow following the string. You should then apply manure in the straight line. You can then uniformly mix 2 kilograms of jute mallow seed into 8 kilograms of loam soil or manure mixture in a container such as a basin. This mixture can plant 1 acre. When planting, you can scoop the mixture and continuously sprinkle in the hole, or put the mixture in a big mineral water bottle and make a hole on the bottle top. Then continuously plant through the bottle top hole and cover with light soil. Mixing the seed with loam soil or manure will help you to regulate plant population by controlling the seed rate. You will be able to get the recommended spacing of 50 centimeters between rows and 10 centimeters between plants. Planting in rows at recommended spacing makes crop management easier and leads to better yields.
You will find when you grow it in rows, it's very easy to weed, it is very easy to thin, it's very easy to see which plants deserve to be removed. Spraying, harvesting, all is made easy, and you are able even to calculate the quantity of harvest you are making.
Weed your jute mallow as soon as weeds emerge and before flowering. Timely weeding minimizes competition for food, light, and reduces pests and diseases infestation, which leads to increased yields. You can either use a small hoe or uproot.
So you are supposed to be loosening the interrow spaces. In doing that, you are also removing the weeds. So continuous loosening of interrow spaces to allow more water to enter into the soil, to aerate the soil, also helps you to remove weeds from the interrow spaces. But the weeds which grow within the rows, you can remove them by hand in the course of thinning, because you have to get a very good crop.
During weeding, you should also carry out thinning, whereby you uproot the less vigorous and off types of jute mallow. The good quality thinned plants can be sold or consumed at home. You should also monitor your crop for any pest and disease infestation.
When you are growing these vegetables, you have to space them. You have to give them a spacing such that at weeding, you see people are just using those gaps, the space, and they step on them. But if you had broadcasted them, as most farmers do, when there is a lot of weed, it means that you will keep on stepping on the plants themselves, and stepping on them, it means that you are lowering your yields.
Jute mallow is affected by pests and diseases that you should be aware of and monitor continuously. Jute mallow growers who practice broadcast method of farming usually face more problems in identifying pests and diseases because their crops are congested, and this leads to the spread of the problem further. Monitoring and management of pests and diseases is easier when jute mallow is planted in rows. So, farmers are advised to use the recommended practices.
Jute mallow does not have so many insect pests. They are the biggest challenges on diseases, especially the powdery mildew. When grown under humid conditions, a farmer is able to experience a lot of losses, especially on leaves, and yet it is the leaves which are mainly eaten. Want a farmer to know how to identify and how to control. Powdery mildew, a farmer is able to notice it, especially under the leaf surface. You find like a white powdery covering on the leaf surface, but on the underside. It starts with the smaller spots on the leaf, small white spots. Eventually, they cover the whole underside of the leaf. And on the surface, you see a yellowing beginning, and eventually most of the leaves defoliate, shed off. This will affect the yield because it is that which a farmer harvests to eat in his home. It is the leaves that the farmer harvests and takes to the market. So if not controlled, a farmer experiences total loss at extreme attack. So how should a farmer control this disease? The most effective way is to apply a chemical called Binomil, which is commercially sold as Ridomil. So that chemical is able to stop the growth or the multiplication of the disease. It is very effective. It is a systemic fungicide. So when a farmer applies, especially in earlier stages, he is able to save much of his crop. But if a farmer does not control it at the earlier stage and it passes to the late stages of attack, you will find a farmer will still experience losses because the disease will have reached advanced stages. The disease will have attacked many leaves, and the early attacked leaves will have been shed off.
There are also agrochemicals that can be used to control some of the pests and diseases. Farmers are encouraged to get advice from the extension worker on the specific type of chemicals for the respective pests and diseases and how to apply them. After 21 days from planting date, you can start harvesting your jute mallow by either plucking the leaves or uprooting. When you pluck the leaves, you will be able to harvest your jute mallow for a longer time than when you uproot, whereby whole plant is taken. It is advisable to harvest your vegetables in the morning or late in the evening to keep them fresh.
We normally pick the soft, tender leaves, and they are ready within 3 weeks. They are ready for harvesting. So you keep on plucking the tender leaves, and that one will also continue for about 3 to 3 months, depending on the varieties. So you keep on picking the soft and tender leaves.
You can keep your harvested jute mallow fresh for a longer time by placing in a pot under a shed and then build sand or charcoal dust around the post and add water to sand or charcoal dust to keep it moist. Do not pour water in the pot. Vegetables can also be preserved by drying using solar dryers and packaged for use during off-season. Your family can enjoy jute mallow in various forms, including steamed with banana leaves, fried or boiled. You can add groundnut powder to have a different taste. In whatever way you prefer to cook your jute mallow, you need to ensure that the nutrients are not lost.
Prepare the vegetable by washing, clean, chop into smaller pieces. Preparation of jute mallow takes very short time. You don't have to overcook. Within 5 to 10 minutes, that is the range, so that most of the nutrients are not lost.
African eggplant, locally known as ntula, is among the African indigenous vegetables grown in Uganda, both for sale and home consumption. It is eaten as sauce, a side dish, while others can have it when fresh from the garden. To get high yields of the African eggplant, you need to use high quality seed. Quality seed should be uniform in size, color and shape, free from foreign matter such as weed seed, and disease-free. It should show high germination of not less than 75%.
Like we mentioned on other vegetables, it has to be disease-free and it has to be viable. The germination percentage is key. It has to be above 75%.
You can confirm the quality of your seed by conducting a germination test. This is done by picking samples of seeds from at least 3 spots from the container, mix the samples and count 100 seeds and soak in water for 24 hours. You should then wrap the soaked seeds in a clean cotton cloth and tie, then hang in a shed. Remember to keep this moist continuously, then open the cloth after 2 weeks and count the number of seeds that have germinated. For quality seed, at least 75% should have germinated. If less seed germinated in 2 weeks, you will need to increase the seed rate and or gap fill after planting. Quality seed when planted on a fertile soil with adequate moisture reduces incidences of pests and diseases attacks. When establishing your African eggplant field, you need to select a suitable site with good fertile soil such as virgin land. You then clear the bush by cutting all the tall grasses and trees, including tree stumps. After bush clearing, carry out first plowing followed by second plowing in about 2 weeks' time. The land should then undergo harrowing using simple implements like a rake to make a fine tilth.
You need to soften the soil. Once the soil is soft and you apply either chicken or cow manure, it makes the soil light.
Unlike other African indigenous vegetables, African eggplant seeds are first laid in the nursery bed for it to germinate before they are transplanted to the well-prepared field.
For African eggplant, the seeds are very small, so we need to first start off from the nursery. The nursery usually is some land which is prepared, a fine tilth is made, the soil is raised, and then you plant your seed in rows 15 centimeters apart. That is where you sow your seed. After sowing the seed, you make sure that you mulch on top of the seed and you continue watering. You manage your nursery bed by watering, but when you're watering, it is key that you don't overwater your bed. You just make sure that your bed is not wet, but it is moist. Within 10 to 14 days, the seed will come up. When the seeds germinate, you raise a shelter on your nursery and you cover the shelter with some dry grass. But when you're covering it, you have to make sure that you allow sunlight to go through, because that light is necessary for manufacturing food for the plants. But you're supposed to make sure that you continue watering your seedlings as they grow. In case pests and diseases come up, you're also supposed to manage them. Within about 3 weeks, you're supposed to reduce the amount of water that you're giving the seedlings, and you also reduce on the shade. This is a process that is called hardening, and it is necessary to make sure that you prepare your seedlings for the harsh conditions in the field. African eggplant seedlings will be ready for transplanting when they have at least 2 pairs of true leaves. That is within about 4 to 5 weeks. They should be ready for the field. That means as you're preparing your nursery, you should also prepare the field where your eggplants will go.
After land preparation, mark your field at a spacing of 1 meter by 1 meter apart in a straight line using a rope and using a stick.
You dig your hole at least 1 foot and add some well decomposed either chicken manure or cow dung manure before placing your seedlings. It is advisable that before you transplant, you should water your bed heavily, and it is advisable that you transplant in the evening when it is cool. When you're transplanting, you don't uproot your seedlings, but you lift them from the bed so that they move with water.
Weed your African eggplant as soon as weeds emerge and before flowering. Timely weeding minimizes competition for food, light, and reduces pests and disease infestation, which leads to increased yield. You can either use a small hoe or a prune.
It is advisable that you do weed the moment you see weeds emerging to avoid that competition. You shouldn't weed after the weeds have flowered. With African eggplant, you use a hoe. You weed before they form a canopy. Depending on how well you prepared your field, 1 to 2 weedings will just be enough, because after that the crop will have formed a canopy.
African eggplant is affected by pests and diseases that you should be aware of and monitor continuously. African eggplant growers who practice broadcast method of farming usually face more problems in identifying pests and diseases because their crops are congested, and this leads to the spread of the problem further. Monitoring and management of pests and diseases is easier when African eggplant is planted in rows. So, farmers are advised to use the recommended practices.
Among the commonest pests which affect Entula, we have what we call the bollworms. The bollworms are very easy to tell. When you harvest the fruits, the mature fruits or fruits which are forming, you always see slight holes within the fruit. And that is one sign of knowing that this is a bollworm which has entered. Others is what we call a cutworm. A cutworm will normally cut the plant at the collar region that is close to the ground, and you find when the plant has completely fallen. We also have what we call nematodes, and the most commonest nematodes which affect Entula is the root knot nematode. This can easily be identified by uprooting the plant, and you see galls forming on the roots. These are small swellings showing that the nematodes are within the plant and they are affecting any absorption of the nutrients. Then last but not least are the white flies. These also affect the Entula mostly at the tender stage. All these can be controlled through using insecticide, both organic and inorganic. For inorganic, you can use cypermethrin, deltamethrin can control this problem. For nematodes, we recommend that you uproot all the plants together with those which are affected by bacterial wilt. Presently, we have no chemicals which can control bacterial wilt. The best control for bacterial wilt is to get rid of all the plants which are affected, and the next season you plant a different crop which doesn't belong in the same family of Solanum.
There are also agrochemicals that can be used to control some of the pests and diseases. Farmers are encouraged to get advice from the extension worker on the specific type of chemicals for the respective pests and diseases and how to apply them. After 2 to 3 months from planting date, you can start harvesting your African eggplant. It is advisable to harvest your vegetables in the morning or late in the evening to keep them fresh. You can keep your harvested African eggplant fresh for longer time by placing in a pot under a shade and then build sand or charcoal dust around the pot and add water to sand or charcoal dust to keep it moist. Do not pour water in the pot.
Ntula is a crop which doesn't lose a lot of moisture. All you need to ensure is that you harvest during the cool hours of the day and you keep it under shade like you've kept other vegetables.
Your family can enjoy African eggplant in various forms, including steamed with banana leaves, fried or boiled. You can add groundnut powder to have a different taste. In whatever way you prefer to cook your African eggplant, you need to ensure that the nutrients are not lost.